responsibility for this. I'll take responsibility for the line that made it into that NavAdmin that said Sea Duty credit will not be provided for those who have served before getting pregnant. Let's get that out there. I will take credit for that, or I'll take responsibility for it, okay?
Warning, misogynistic claims incoming.
You're telling me that a Master Chief, Force Master Chief at that, in E9 went on social media and said he was the problem? I think hell has frozen over and we are in a different dimension, or we might just have leadership that might be learning from people as like, maybe we could do business a little bit better. Now, let's dive into this because he's saying he's been wrong about a pregnancy policy where people are like, click away, I don't care. Stay, I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people have said women just get pregnant to get out of going on deployment. They're trying to get out of any bit of accountability to make sure their commitment to the military is there. But this is where he changed it, and I think we are finally on track to something that everybody can bite off and actually have a good taste in their mouth. Let's check it out.
Regarding the pregnancy NavAdmin, I'll take responsibility for this. I'll take responsibility for the line that made it into that NavAdmin that said Sea Duty credit will not be provided for those who have served before getting pregnant. Let's get that out there. I will take credit for that, or I'll take responsibility for it, okay? But since that NavAdmin has come out, the feedback from the fleet has been overwhelming, and all of it dealt with that sentence. So yesterday, after some good conversation, we released an addendum to that, and it's called the Distribution Guidance Memorandum. By the way, that's been released online. All CMCs have it, and it should be populating everywhere. But that distribution guidance memo specifies that if a woman does less than 50% of her sea time before getting pregnant, she is not going to get Sea Duty credit after the 2-year pregnancy tour. But if she's done between 50 and 74%, she will receive Sea Duty credit for the time that she served at sea. And that comes after her pregnancy tour. If she's done more than 75% or more than 74%, she will, instead of that 2-year pregnancy tour, that turns into a 3-year shore duty tour.
Yeah.
Yep. And then she goes right back into her seashore flow. So what that does, that compensates for the line in that NavAdmin that says we're not giving Sea Duty credit. We are giving Sea Duty credit. And we're doing it because people opened their eyes to that aspect of the NavAdmin and the impact that it would have.
Now, I will give you the backstory because there's so much that's happened that made this clip viral, that this Master Chief was actually trying to hold accountability and actually try and do the right thing. I'll read what it was initially said in the NavAdmin that goes out there. I have to educate people that are in the non-Navy type side of things. There is Sea Duty, which means you deploy, you're on a ship, you float out and you do that stuff and you come back with a ship on their deployment rotations throughout their cycle or whatever, right? Then there are shore duty, which essentially means you could sit at a desk and you're non-deployable. And the idea is that people would rotate from sea to shore to have a good, well-rounded life. That way they're not always like Captain Jack Sparrow trying to sail the 7 seas. And essentially you could have a life where you have a family and things like that. So that's why this all comes about, but let's dive into it. The notice says effective immediately. Upon official command notification of pregnancy consistent with references D and E and submission of reassignment availability, pregnant sailors will be reassigned to fill a valid manpower requirement. Operational deferment shore duty orders will be written for a minimum of 24 months with a detached date approximately 30 days from receipt of the availability report. Once shore orders are executed, sailors will be expected to complete their shore tour regardless of pregnancy status. So from what I'm reading from this is if you're pregnant, you will get new orders. You will then be there for a minimum of 2 years, and it will be in a job that is supposed to be career enhancing, that you will actually be able to serve and still be seen as good and maybe a great individual that could promote things like that, no matter if you're pregnant or not. That way it's not unfair. Operational units. Pregnant sailors serving in a sea duty billet will receive operational deferment orders and be transferred to a shore duty billet to fill a valid manpower requirement wherever possible. Upon official notification of sailors' pregnancy status consistent with guidance and reference D and E, sea duty activities are required to submit a reassignment due to pregnancy and postpartum availability report via Navy Standard Integration Personnel System for enlisted and via the community detailer for officers to include the following information: the 20-week notice, estimated date of delivery, and any factors or limitations that should be considered in the assignment process. It is known that if you are pregnant, there has to be a notice sent up to a commanding officer that you officially notify the CO that you are pregnant. Usually that leads to a 20-week limitation that you cannot be on the ship anymore. And obviously you could have to do an underway or whatever else before the 20 weeks where you could deploy or whatever be away from the hospital for a period of time. But essentially a lot of commanding officers would try and kick you off as fast as possible and you'd be sent somewhere that wasn't that great. They say pregnant sailors may request a waiver to remain on board operational commands for the duration of the pregnancy and postpartum period to include any convalescent parental leave. This operational deferment waiver must include endorsements from the service member, the commanding officer, an officer in charge, and the healthcare provider. The waiver request will be submitted via Salesforce for enlisted and to the community detailer for officers. Individual detailers will have final approval. So if you were ever going to sit there and say, they're just trying to get out of any responsibility, somebody is pregnant, and they're not deploying, the command isn't having anything operational, it's a downturn, maybe they plan it with the deployment cycle, this might benefit some people if they are okay with that, which I'm like, I will say the only downside is when you pluck somebody out to go have a baby, they're gone for a bit, then they come back, like obviously there is a lapse of knowledge, skill, stuff that can happen over time a little bit there, but overall I think it might be better than just totally losing somebody, getting a new person, trying to retrain them up, and God forbid they get pregnant. So a lot of people could be skeptical, but I think overall we're heading in the right direction. Shore units. Pregnant sailors assigned to shore duty that are within 13 months of their projected rotation date, or PCS, may extend on board their current command or move to another command within the geographic location to fill a valid manpower requirement. If there's not a suitable or valid manpower requirement meeting pregnant sailors' needs, NPC, the people that give orders, will work to send sailors to a command in a non-refillable excess position where continued community and or rating development and mentorship is available. Pregnant sailors assigned in excess may be transferred to another command within the same geographic region if a valid manpower requirement is identified, which allows the sailor a career-enhancing opportunity. Lastly, sailors may request to cancel their postpartum operational deferment in order to return to an operational command, and says or type 2 or 4. Request must be initiated by the service member in line with reference F using officer personal action request or enlisted personal action request. From the sounds of this, it's like they're trying to get people back to sea duty. You can offer to put yourself up a little bit early if you're willing to do so. And on top of that, if you're already at the command, you can extend a little bit further, which sounds like a good idea as people are going to be needed to use these skills, the brain power, not everything's just physical manual labor. We understand that. But the fact that that can help is great here, that I see that as a plus. I think this is going to actually put pressure on people to actually do the one thing that might sound crazy to most of you guys, but let's say they actually do something called family planning. That might be something that might be a good tool to have, but there's people across social media that have their thoughts as well. Mill Mama on the Run says, how do I like this 55 times? Eric Throws Rocks says, that's fair. Punishes those trying to escape sea time while rewarding those who can do the time. And I have to say, this has its fair share of drama from somebody called SoCali_Bug. This is not a good thing. Stop promoting it as such. Sea duty is sea duty. Restarting a woman's counter regardless of how much time she has served because she becomes pregnant is nothing but a sexist, misogynistic move. He is only saying this because they got called out, not because he's giving one S about women in the Navy. And let me guess, this person's bright idea at this point would be, you get to choose when you deploy, when you don't deploy. You get to choose whatever you want. It's the military. Just do it the way you want. There's no supply demand needed to make sure at sea billets are needed to be filled, and that there aren't billets or jobs out there that are specifically made to fulfill women billets. That's not the case at all. And I don't think this Master Chief was just a raging misogynist along with everybody else. I don't know, the people that actually signed it, admirals, we'll just go on and we'll just say only the Master Chief is misogynistic. And that is my final answer for who wants to be a dummy on this subject, because it's not just one Master Chief that made this policy. It went through several hands, where I doubt it was just him. But let's just take common sense for 100, Alex. This is where I get to you guys out there. What do you guys think about this? Do you think this is going to fix some of those age-old traditions of stereotypes? And I would also like to say, do you think that this will change how the Marine Corps, Air Force, and the Coast Guard, and all these other branches that are out there, and how they're going to handle things like this? I would really like to see if any other services would adapt this. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. But as always, if you guys like what I cover on the channel, make sure you guys hit me up over on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, down in the comments below. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.